Hello, friends. Today I want to talk about something very fun. We're going to talk about the Buddha, the Queen, and the Chicago Bulls. I have to give a disclaimer that I'm not much of a sports person, except that I do love basketball. And I love basketball because when I was in the 8th grade, I was the tallest child in my class. Both boys and girls, I was the tall kid. And so I was the basketball star, at least in my own mind. And it didn't last long. I stopped growing and everybody else took off. But I had my moment of glory, and it's always been very dear to my heart, playing basketball. In the early 90s, when Dharmadas and I lived in Seattle, we followed the winning streak of the Chicago Bulls because Dharmadas is from Chicago and I love basketball, and we had television, which is very rare in our lives. We haven't had a TV in many years, but back then, for a few years, we had television and we could watch the games. So there is an iconic situation that is very inspiring. And I'll explain this little bit of background. The Chicago Bulls had been up against the Detroit Pistons for many years, and they kept getting knocked out of the playoffs because of this team. And the Pistons had a reputation for being the bad boys. They were very physical, they were very aggressive, and every year they just beat up the Bulls. Well, this last year, once again, it had gone a lot of games and the Bulls had a chance at the championship, and then they got knocked out by the Pistons. And this time, nothing was said amongst any of the players. Everybody was very quiet when they got beaten by the Pistons that last time. And even though they had the day off the next day after the game, and even though nothing was said, they all showed up in the weight room. They were all, down to a man, every one of them on the team. They were determined to get tougher, to get stronger, and to beat the Pistons that next year. And so they came back that next year, once again, against the Pistons in the playoffs. And there was an iconic moment in which one of the Piston players, it was Dennis Rodman, who later played for the Bulls, but Dennis Rodman was on the Pistons, and he grabbed Scottie Pippen from behind, one of the Bulls players, and he pushed him off the court. And Scottie fell and sort of sat up. And then I think maybe Jordan gave him his hand, one of the players gave him his hand, and he got up. Well, that iconic moment is iconic because the camera zoomed right in on Scottie's face when he fell, when he sat up, when he got up. And you see his face the whole time, and it's a complete poker face. There is no anger. There is no pain. There is nothing except centeredness and determination. And the Pistons, in talking about that moment, said, when we saw Scotty's face, we knew it was over. They knew their reign of terror was over because there was centeredness, there was calm, there was that warrior sense of determination. And the Pistons knew that their physical aggression no longer had an effect. There was no fear. There was just determination to win. And they went on to win 3 championships in a row. The Bulls did. So that's what we need to inspire in ourselves, that kind of courage, that kind of sense of, okay, yes, I was beaten up, I was a failure, I was intimidated, I was fearful, I was worried, all the negative emotions, all the negative thoughts. But now I'm going to get stronger and I'm going to get tougher and I'm going to beat this thing. That's what it takes, that inspiration, that courage in the face of failure to say, okay, we have to up our game. When the Buddha finally resolved to sit under the banyan tree until he achieved realization, when he had that kind of deep soul determination to realize the truth, no matter how long it took or what would happen, that complete resolve. Well, the demon king Mara came and threw everything he had at the Buddha. He even had his daughters appear before the Buddha dancing and trying to tempt him. And he arrayed his armies at him. He threw everything he could think of to break the Buddha's resolve. And the Buddha stayed calm. He stayed determined. There was no angry back chat. There was no trash talk. There was nothing. The Buddha calmly tapped on the ground in front of him 3 times and said, Mara, I have conquered you. And Mara disappeared. So I'll just close now with one of my favorite sayings of the Queen of England. Keep calm and carry on. That kind of calmness that is unshakable, that doesn't feel any sort of frustration, that just has that amused sort of enjoyment almost of the circumstances of life that are so ridiculously oppressive. That calmness that says, no matter what is happening, I will continue to try. I will keep going. I will not get distracted by fear and worry and upset and anger and pain and all of that. I will just keep going. And that's what we need to perfect in our lives. This is what the great masters, Yogananda, and our line of gurus and all the great sages have said. We need to find that center within, to stay there, to live there, and to have all of our thoughts, all of our actions, all of our interactions with the world and with other people come from that place of deep resolve to live for God, to feel God in our lives, to find God, to be one with God. And that is the purpose of our lives. And the Detroit Pistons and the Demon King Mara and all the circumstances of World War II that led the Queen to say, keep calm and carry on. No matter what is happening outside, inside we have the bomb shelter of the spine. We have our devotion and resolve to live for God. And then nothing and no one can harm us. God bless you.